Now we're going to get to Ana Kasparian, the Young Turks, and Dennis Prager. Let me get into a little bit of our history here. So the Young Turks is a famously, I don't know if I can call them famous, is a left-leaning channel on the internet, headed by Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur. And Ana Kasparian very much dislikes PragerU, and she's made that abundantly clear. She actually ended up tweeting out some tweets about crime and the problem of crime in America, which is an issue that we agree on. And we reached out to Ana Kasparian and said, hey, I know we're on different sides of the aisle. Would you like to come on the show and have a talk about crime? Because I feel like it'd be good to see two women who disagree find some agreements on these things. She, instead of responding to the message, went on the Young Turks and said, Prager, you reached out to me, and I cannot believe they would even think I would go on their show. Doesn't matter how much money you paid me, I wouldn't be on PragerU. And she's like, I don't want to be your friends, PragerU, is what she said in this video.
Yeah, it's like we didn't offer any money. We were just like, hey, we want to create civil discourse around this topic, and we seem to agree here. We can talk about where we agree, where we disagree. And it was like,
yeah,
how dare you?
It's like a little chihuahua coming at me. And we ended up having to just like show the screenshots, be like, yo, dude, we gave you a totally nice response of like asking you to come on the show, and this is your weird, twisted reaction to being invited to have a civil discussion. Anyways, she also famously hates Dennis Prager, and finally, Dennis has been able to be on the Young Turks and actually have a debate. I put that in air quotes because I doubt any of us will find this to be a debate once we end up watching this, but a debate with Dennis Prager, and let's react to that video.
To any left-wing columnist on the New York Times to debate me anywhere they want. They could choose the moderator. They could choose the audience. And serious money.
Joining us now is Dennis Prager, the man you just saw in that video. And Dennis, I guess you could call TYT acetaminophen because we don't want you to ache. We want to make sure we give you an opportunity to feel good by debating someone on the left.
Funny, 'cause I was thinking, if only you were a New York Times columnist, how much money you'd be making now.
Well, I'm a little more honest than a New York Times columnist, so this will be.
Is she though? Anyways,
a great conversation. Thank you for doing it. So I wanted to.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So I wanted to just kind of start off with, I guess, disagreeing with the notion that the left is afraid to have these kinds of discussions or debates. In fact, you had tweeted that video that we started this conversation with, and there were a lot of responses from prominent individuals on the left. I want to give you a few examples, starting with Vosh, who's a big Twitch streamer. He's got a big YouTube channel as well. He says, you couldn't be more wrong. I love spirited debate in the free marketplace of ideas. He even provided his email and would love to have that conversation with you. My good friend Ben Burgess also responded. He's a great guy. He says, hi Dennis, I'd be delighted to chat with you either on my show or you could host it through PragerU, or I'm sure Modern Day Debate or some other neutral platform would be happy to host it.
It's so interesting that we start off with this subject because Dennis is on your platform to debate you. And while he's on your platform ready to debate you, you start off by saying, well, Dennis, you say that nobody wants to debate you. And here's some evidence of people who want to debate you when he's on your platform to talk the issues. He's right there sitting in front of you. Get into the issues and talk about it. But no, she goes on with this for a little while. We're going to skip and let Dennis respond.
Oh, I have no doubt that there are a lot of people on the left. The issue that I raised was people at the New York Times and people like you, for example. You pleasantly surprised me by doing this, to be perfectly honest. And by the way, I think proof of my theory is a piece that I read on some left-wing or progressive site just today about how angry many of your viewers are that you're having me on. Whereas I will tell you, I would get no such feedback from the right if I had a left-wing person on my show. They would be thrilled. So I still stand by my belief that in general, the people certainly in the higher echelons of the left don't want to debate. But it's probably not worth debating whether there would be such a debate. I presume we're having one now.
Yes.
And
Thank you for making the point, Dennis, because it just seems so like a ridiculous, so graciously too. And you'll find that throughout this entire debate, we might not watch the whole thing, but you guys can go through. Dennis makes several times goes, oh, well, I think you're right about that. You know, I actually agree with you there. Or I think it's very nice that you brought me on the show to talk to you. Does she make one single charitable point towards Dennis?
We'll see. I mean, yeah, I don't recall one.
No.
Yes.
And I'm glad we are.
Well, look, the left isn't a monolith. There's a lot of disagreement on the left. There's certainly a lot of disagreement on things that I say on this show on various issues, even when it comes to crime. I'm sure you've noticed some of the backlash I've received in that regard as well. However, I will say there is a reason why the right wing tends to be more open to having these kinds of discussions and debates, and the left wing gets a little uneasy about it. And it's because there has been this prevalence of prominent figures who identify as the left, right, or on the left, who then later start to, cozy up to right-wing figures.
Oh, pause. So you're admitting what Dennis said was true, that the left is less ready to get into a debate with other people. That's what she just said in the statement, even though she was denying it like 2 seconds ago. It's unbelievable.
That's contradiction number one. Yeah. Self-contradiction.
Let's keep going. Do we need like a little point counter? Drinking game, guys.
And then it turns out that they completely moved to the right wing because they're essentially paid to do it. They're used as tools by the right wing to essentially spew right-wing talking points while purporting to still be on the left. In fact, Dave Rubin's a great example of that. Dave Rubin used to work with us. He identified as someone on the left.
Dave,
yeah, go ahead.
Forgive me.
Ana Kasparian has never heard of somebody changing their mind in her life.
Here, let me hand you a few more dollars to keep talking for us on the left. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I'm taking my my oil fracking. What is it? My fracking money.
Billionaire money.
Yeah.
Dave Rubin made a video for PragerU why I left the left.
Oh, I know.
He does not, in fact, state to the world that he's still on the left.
What did she say?
I don't know who you.
Ding. Contradiction number 2. She just said that Dave was pretending to be a leftist while espousing conservative beliefs, and Dennis goes, he made a video called "Why I Left the Left." I know.
Yeah, and if you're interested if you want to talk about Dave Rubin, I mean, we have the perfect video coming out next week where Dave reacts to his old Red Pill video with Larry Elder, and in that video, he is walking you through his thought process. He's like, yeah, going into this, I was a liberal, and I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but he's basically like he had experienced cognitive dissonance after being caught in a lie, and he didn't have to publish that video of him looking bad, by the way. It wasn't negative for his career that he put that out there at that time, but he had enough integrity as a person and as a journalist, which is kind of the kernel of, and he'll say this, and Larry said it too, of why he was led to his transformation, is because he had that integrity as a person and was couldn't ignore facts.
Right. And it's just like when you are tripping over yourself to be right or to win in a debate, which is clearly the energy she's giving off right here, and you can tell in the body language, you can tell she's sort of chomping at the bit to jump at him a little bit while Dennis is sitting there like letting her respond. And when you have those two energies, you're going to contradict yourself. She's like jumping to contradict herself because she's just so ready to get a win on Dennis. And in my opinion, it doesn't happen. You guys can let us know by the end of this if you think it did.
You have in mind, so I can only address the one name that you gave. Dave Rubin acknowledges he's not on the left.
It's interesting because if I recall correctly, you had a conversation with Dave Rubin and how incredibly important it was that he was engaging in these discussions with you, discussions with the right wing, and you stated something very specific. I actually want to go to that video and I want to get your thoughts. Maybe you can elaborate on what you meant in this video. Let's watch.
I'm doing it for myself.
No. Yeah. It's like Christians who say to me, oh, we would love you to come to Christ, but you are so valuable to us as a Jew when you defend us Christians. Yeah. And they're right. You are valuable in the best sense of the word, because America needs people who are clearly liberal and to be honest, and fall into the category of kosher as gay, to say, hey, hello, the conservatives are not hate mongers. Hello, they should be heard. And maybe every so often you should read National Review, right, or watch a PragerU video.
Wow, it's almost like Dennis is absolutely right with what he just said. Yeah, it's almost like it's a really powerful thing to be from an identity group that leftists try to use against conservatives and go, hey, the conservatives are pretty cool. It's almost like that's what is needed, but only because of the environment that leftism has created. Like, It shouldn't be necessary for me looking like myself to be the one who talks about race and from a conservative perspective. But leftists have created that environment where it takes somebody like me to say the things that I say to be listened to.
And also, she said herself, the left's not a monolith, but in the same breath, it's like, but anyone who expresses any conservative sympathies is a shill or a spy.
Right. They're taking that sweet, sweet fracking money.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Prager, you can understand why members of the left would feel a little uneasy when...
Also, pause. I love how it's just like... Dennis is going on this platform, and it's just Ana Kasparian bringing up everything she's ever disagreed with him on and being like, defend yourself, Dennis. Defend yourself, Dennis. Dennis, I, in fact, have an old video of you at 5 years old pushing over another kid on the playground. Can you defend this action, Dennis? It's literally what this entire video is.
These discussions take place because usually it's a sign that someone on the left got lured in with some billionaire cash, like Dave Rubin did.
Oh, okay. Well, that's an unfair statement. I don't accuse people on the left of having their positions because of money, and I don't think you should do that with regard to conservatives. Alan Dershowitz is not a right winger, but Alan Dershowitz has said to me, this Harvard professor who's very well known, he's lost all his friends because he defended Donald Trump in court. He didn't even vote for Donald Trump. Just merely defending his right to have a defense was enough for him to lose his friends. The assumption on the left is that if you're a conservative, you're a despicable human being. And this is a perfect example. The only reason Dave Rubin would have done it was for money. I don't know anybody on my side of the spectrum who holds their positions because of money. There's a hell of a lot more money on the left anyway.
Really?
If you want to get money.
Yep, really.
How is PragerU funded?
The Washington Post.
How is PragerU funded?
That's like turning around and be like, who funds the Young Turks? Who funds CNN and MSNBC? And who owns Apple? And who owns Twitter? And who owns Instagram? And who owns YouTube and Google? And all these other entities that are clearly left-leaning. And going, really? 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 We don't have money? It's ridiculous to think that left-leaning people don't have money. Even if you function on the assumption that conservatives are the world makers and they're the ones who are truly, the puppeteers and making everything happen. Even if that were the case and that were the world that we were living in, the alternative to conservatives being leftist, they would still have money. You represent 50% of the United States population, and you think that 50% doesn't own any money and isn't really significant in places like Silicon Valley, where most of the world's money is being held? Just come on now.
Yeah, it's convenient to be able to attribute financial incentive as Dave Rubin's motive, because then you don't have to contend with the arguments that made him change his mind.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to contend with the cognitive dissonance of thinking that somebody who thought just like me, that I thought I agreed with, that I trusted, that was on my side, has changed their mind. I don't have to contend with why. I can just say they're doing it for money, and then that settles the argument. And it's basically an ad hominem against that idea, because you're attacking his character and disparaging him as a shill instead of contending with his argument. And that's just a very elementary fallacy in argumentation. So if you're inviting someone to a debate and your biggest example that you have is immediately to point to someone, well, they changed their mind and it's because of money, you're attributing motives to someone instead of just contending with ideas, which is what Dennis is there for. You can tell as he's speaking extemporaneously. He's using his thoughts. He's not, he's very present in the conversation, and it feels like she's going to talking points and pre-prepared lines of attack and just hoping one of them sticks.
Right. She's like, this one didn't get him, on to the next one. This one didn't get him, on to the next one, on to the next one. But she has more integrity than the New York Times people.
Post. By people on the internet and by wealthy donors. But PragerU is pittance compared to the money that is available just to BLM. How much money was given to Black Lives Matter?